Vikings fans, you are listening to the Purple People podcast. My name is Kyle West. I got Adam Carlson.
That's me.
I got Mr. Kyle Smith.
I'm that guy.
You betcha. We're here to talk Vikings football.
We are. And there's nothing I like more than Vikings football. Well, I won't say nothing, but it's a PG show, so I'll say nothing.
It's pretty close.
But
top 10.
It's PG except for when Mr. Kyle West decides to have a potty mouth.
Hey.
But I'd like to welcome everyone to episode number 152 of the Purple People podcast. This one is titled Brian's Song. I don't know if you've ever seen Brian's Song, but if you haven't, it'll do something to you, that's for sure. It's one to check out.
It's not a week goes by that I don't learn something that I need to do, according to the Adam Carlson standard of movie life.
I've seen a lot of really odd movies. Mm-hmm. That's for sure. But let's get into the quick hits. Now, the title of the show this week was Brian's Song. That's because Brian Robinson reportedly injured his pectoral muscle during a workout. He went and had an MRI done, and it showed there was no serious damage. Went in to have a second opinion, and Robinson announced on Twitter that he'll be okay. So hopefully he'll heal up and he'll be good to go for the regular season.
I'm sure he'll be...
We need him.
Yeah, we do need him. I'm sure he'll be A-okay. There's still enough time between now and when the season starts for him to get good and healthy.
Now, wide receiver Charles Johnson set the Twitterverse and Instagram world on fire there when he sent out a picture that a fan made for him of him in a yellow jersey. And the last time I saw one of these yellow jerseys was probably about, I don't know, maybe 7-8 years ago on a bootleg site where they had yellow Randy Moss jerseys and stuff like that.
I was going to say, I remember back in the day when you could walk into a Kmart and you could buy the weird off-brand, clearly rip-off jerseys. And I remember, this is like in 98 or 99, you could get the yellow Vikings jerseys, and I haven't seen them since then.
No, it's been a while since I've seen them, and I gotta say, I didn't want to see them again.
You know what? I sort of like it. I would be okay with a yellow alternative Vikings jersey. I think that'd be...
If I want to see a full yellow jersey, I'll go follow a team that has yellow as a primary color. Vikings are purple.
Yeah, but the...
This is so true, but I have to tell you, it's like Miley Cyrus. It's so bad, but for some odd reason, I can't look away. It's like those god-awful Pittsburgh Steelers uniforms, bumblebees. But you know what they're good for? We all hate the Packers here. Those god-awful blue and brown ones, they're good for one game. Let's just play one game in the yellow jerseys. Just one.
Next thing is that the two jerseys that you mentioned are alternate jerseys, but I don't think anything can be as bad as Tampa's jerseys are.
The new ones with the alarm clock.
No truer words
with the alarm clock with the alarm clock numbering and all that stuff.
I am a big fan of the old school 70s creamsicle Tampa.
Yeah.
Why not just, if you're gonna completely mess up your jerseys, why not just go back to that? That is cool.
There's a reason why when the Vikings keep redesigning their jerseys and helmets, they keep going back to the classic look and just tweaking a couple things here and there. Because it's the history, it's the legacy, it's what we know as a brand, for what we've seen from our team. And I don't really want to reboot that whole life of the team. I know some franchises might, but I hope the Vikings don't.
Do you guys, really quick, have a favorite era of, Vikings uniform?
I would say the 70s.
I'll always love the 70s jerseys, I will.
Yep.
They're so plain, but back then you didn't need flashy uniforms, you didn't need digital numbers, you didn't need sweat pockets in the front. All this stuff is just making these jerseys really weird, and I don't know, simpler times, I guess.
Everyone likes the...
I think... Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, everyone likes the classic ones, rightfully. They're classic for a reason. But I still really like that 98 era with, the Vikings guy on the sleeves of the jersey. I thought those were really cool. That is... Oh,
yeah, I got a Culpepper like that.
That is the only time I thought that the white alternative Vikings uniforms actually looked good. Was that era.
They looked real clean.
Mm-hmm.
They did.
I forget which season it was. I know it was when Ponder was playing for us. I want to say it was his rookie season in 11 or so, but we played a lot of games that season with the throwbacks, I guess you would call them. But I don't know. You can tell some differences on the sleeves, and especially with the new uniforms, like the lettering that has a little twist on the end, like especially on the number 2, you can definitively see it from far away. But
yeah, the serifs are nice.
I like it, but I don't know if I agree with Adam. If we had to go back to like a favorite, they did it kind of when Ponder first came around, and it was. I only remember because it jumped out at me that day. I was like, "What's wrong with this jersey?" Oh, what? Way to go, guys! You guys, did you just give a throwback? So I don't know, but I want to know if anybody's actually listening, which I know some of you will. Come back to us on Facebook and Twitter. Tell us if you actually wouldn't mind seeing those god awful yellow jerseys for just one game. If anything, I think it would get ESPN talking about it.
But let's make that our next social media question of the week. Let's ask the fans what their favorite jerseys are and if they would like something different done to the jerseys if they're not a big fan of some of those. So let's make that our social media question for next week.
Look, I have lots of answers for that already. That's a fun question.
The next quick hit was thrown in by Mr. Kyle Smith. I think he wants to handle this one.
Thank you. Well, this is another opportunity to plug, as we always do. We love plugs here. But my fan-sided app went off today. And there's this wonderful, wonderful website called the Viking Age with lots of Viking information. And I read an article today, and I believe it was from there. Mike Zimmer made an announcement to the press about Cordero Patterson. Now, a lot of people are frustrated with Cordero, and rightfully so. He did not have the sophomore year that we all wanted, and I'm sure he wanted. But he's been doing a lot of work. My biggest knock, personally, and I'll get off my little soapbox about Cordero, was I felt like after having I don't know what to do and how to handle this guy as far as the defenses went for his rookie year, I think everybody kind of slowed him down a little bit. Norv definitely gave him a challenge in learning a complex offense. But this, to me, shows, hey, I'm going to stay off social media as much as I used to and focus more on my game. He's been going with a guy that's called Hell's Trainer. And Mike Zimmer said Cordero Patterson is in obvious better shape, and he has also shown more refined route running. And this couldn't make me happier. I know everybody wants Teddy to be the breakout player of the year, but he doesn't have to be. If person A, being Cordero, and person B, Adrian, comes back to full speed, he doesn't have to have all the weight on his shoulders. So I am super stoked to hear that, because I don't think Mike Zimmer is going to give a guy a ton of credit if he doesn't mean it. I just don't see him being that guy. So be on the lookout.
No, hopefully. Praise from Mike Zimmer is hard to come across. If he gives it to you, you've earned it.
And I think part of what happened with Cordero, because you've seen it happen firsthand at camp. He walked in, and you could tell from the moment he arrived, he bought into the hype, the off-season hype of Cordero Patterson. He had an incredibly large head on his shoulders. He appointed himself catchy nicknames. I mean, he was ready to go, and I don't know if that distracted him from actually sitting down and focusing on what happened or where he should have been. But I think it was a good learning experience. It was something that humbled him, and hopefully this kid looks back at what happened last year and says, I gotta put forth the work, otherwise the Vikings are gonna they will replace him.
Do you know what this actually kind of reminds me of right now is, Cordero Patterson had a really fun, interesting, dynamic rookie season.
Mm-hmm.
So did last year's rookie in New York. I'm sure I don't even really need to say the name.
ODB.
Now,
ODB.
when you talk about attitudes and staying off social media,
mm-hmm.
That's the same exact kind of thing that he's doing right now. He went on social media today and said that he believes that NFL players are underpaid. That is not a smart thing to say.
It's a pretty stupid thing to say.
Now, keep in mind, he's on his rookie contract. He's going to make more money when the rookie time is up. And, of course, if he proves himself to be the player that he was during his rookie year, he's going to make big bank. So why even say that? It's like Cordero with the nicknames, and what was he calling himself? Money or Cha-Ching or something dumb like that?
Cordero?
Yeah.
He's calling himself Flash.
That's not the one.
He had something else, too. I don't remember what it was, because you're right, it was a really dumb nickname.
Yeah, it was a really dumb nickname, but I don't know what happened to the days of players just grinding.
You know what?
The other side of that coin is what happened to Brian Robinson.
Mm-hmm.
Just grinding and grinding, trying to get better, listening to all the people talk about him not being able to cut it anymore on social media, and all the people saying, oh, they're drafting these guys to take over for Brian Robinson because he's almost done. Brian Robinson is out to prove that he is not done. And it's that kind of feeling where you have to go prove something that brings out the greatness in people. And that's what I want to see from Cordero Patterson this year.
Oh, my God. I wish this segued straight into my bold statement, because there's a reason why you're talking about B-Rob, and we named the episode. And I love what you're saying. I'm going to try to remember it later. But you know what? I 1,000% agree with you, because social media has taken over. They'll make you an icon because you're in the moment. And, I mean, like you said, I'm not trying to, repeat everything you say, but look at Cordero. I praise that guy up. There's friends of mine that are Patriots fans from Boston. Shout out to Greg. I love you, buddy. He's like, dude, I picked up Cordero for my fantasy league. And 3 weeks later, he's like, I hate you. Who is this chump? And I was like, give him time. But, some guys aren't going to be – actually, not even some. 80% of this league are not a J.J. Watt, Aaron Rodgers type player. You're going to come in, you're going to play 7 years if you're lucky. You're going to have 2 or 3 seasons where people know who you are, and then you're going to hang it up, and you're going to go on to life after football, probably before you're 30. And they don't realize that. You think because you have a season where you make arguably the greatest catch I've ever seen, minus the Super Bowl with the Pats and the Giants, that's up for a whole nother debate. But you think because you have this catch that you're just going to produce like that all the time. Defenses are going to adjust. You might get injured, yada, yada, yada. So I love your comparison. I hate to compare Cordero in a negative way, but I'm sure he's humble enough to admit it, and we all saw it last year.
I think that this whole offseason has really opened his eyes, and I'm hoping that he can come back and be a different player on the field, be more refined, know his role better, be able to run his routes better, and by what Mike Zimmer has been saying, it sounds like that's true. Speaking of Mike Zimmer, he was talking about that left guard position. We've all been talking about that left guard position. Who's going to win that role? Well, it could very well be the guy who was the right guard. They're talking about moving Brandon Fusco over from right guard to left guard, and then having an open competition for the right guard position, including the rookie Clemmings, who is a massive man.
Mm-hmm. I like that. I think that is smart thinking. Seems to me that you can move someone who's a bit of a veteran with more NFL experience over to in my opinion, the harder position to play, and have a bit of your open competition for the right guard area.
But let's talk for a second about what else this does here. What you're doing is you're taking away a pair of run blockers that have been very successful in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Him and Lodeholt have been just grinders. Now, there's no reason to believe that Clemmings couldn't have that same kind of success next to Lodeholt. But I hate breaking them up.
Well, but it's also the time of the year where you get to try little weird things like that and see if it sticks or not. Like, remember when they tried to move Everson to, I believe, linebacker for a bit in training camp? I mean, and that's a drastic example here of this. But, I mean, this is the time of year where you can be flexible, you can move guys around, you can see where you can fit and mix and match your pieces. I like the creativity on Mike Zimmer's part. And
now, if Clemmings can prove to be a very capable right guard and be able to run block at a pretty high level, this team is going to have an amazing run blocking offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
And that is something that Adrian Peterson is going to absolutely love. He might end up buying snowmobiles for all these guys after this season, if that's true. Speaking of Adrian Peterson, if he misses more than one OTA session, he will forfeit $250,000 of his bonus money. But that's a drop in the bucket to Adrian Peterson. And who knows if he'll show up or not. And to be honest, not a big deal to me.
Not really a story. He never shows up for OTA stuff. You'll be here in training camp time, I believe.
Yeah, almost a non-story, but it's enough to mention. But one thing I do like is that the Minnesota Vikings have added $14 million to their stadium contribution. That's going to go towards putting monitors and increasing the structure for the wiring and the video capabilities. They want to really have screens everywhere.
You can tell, awesome. And I know I've made this statement before, but it bears repeating. You can tell that the Wilfs come from a construction-based background because just the way they are handling the stadium, they are continually making improvements, and they are making sure that this is not the Metrodome Part 2 where it gets built and then it's just outdated almost immediately afterwards. Like
what happens with most stadiums like this is they have their budget, things go over budget, and things end up getting cut.
Yep.
And it's so good to see that instead of things getting cut and deadlines being pushed back, the Wilf family is like, oh, we want to make this better.
Mm-hmm. Where are all
They've done the opposite.
Yeah. Where are all those people?
Just keep giving money.
I was going to say, where are all those people who were bitching before about public money going towards the stadium? Well, where are they now when the Wilfs are throwing in another $14 million that they don't have to make this a better building for Minnesota?
Exactly.
Where are they now?
They understand the investment. They do.
That's right. They're not complaining anymore.
You know the best part too? I never knew until getting bored one day and Googling, and most of you guys that listen, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. You probably already knew this, but the Wilfs, as some of the Wilf family came from owning real estate.
Right.
And like you said earlier, Kyle, that's such a benefit for any fan that's going to ever put any kind of money into going to see a game there of any sort. And that's the other thing people don't realize. The Metrodome, correct me if I'm wrong, 90% for football. This is going to be a mega stadium. While I know there are talks of other stadiums getting ideas from our blueprint and just always wanting to one-up each other. For a good 3 to 4 years, we are going to have the best stadium in football. And that is a lot to say because there's some amazing places to go watch a game.
Well, the Viking Stadium is built off Lucas
Lucas
Oil.
Whoa!
Lucas Oil, sorry.
I got really excited for a minute. I thought we were going to go into Star Wars.
No. I meant Lucas Oil. I said, but I said LucasArts.
That is A-okay. Let me give you...
But that was the blueprint they looked at, and they went from there, and now they're making tweaks, and they're really making this stadium their own thing, which I think is awesome. The shape, the lights,
everything about it.
Screens, the monitors, the concourse, the bricks, the everything. It's so cool.
Let me give you really quick, Mr. Smith, about kind of what the Metrodome was built kind of right at the tail end of when they were doing those combination buildings, where it was a combination football field, baseball diamond for the Vikings and the Twins, and because of that, it was never really good at doing either thing, because it was never a baseball field or it was never a football field. Like, it tried to do both, and it didn't do either particularly well, and there's a reason why they quit building them in the manner that the Metrodome was built, because it's kind of sucked.
I hate watching Raiders games and seeing, like, even parts of the baseball
parts of the diamond on it. Yeah, that's really super tacky.
Yeah, it's not very classy. But let's get into our main topic, which it's Deflategate. That is still the big topic around the NFL.
Off season.
But now, the New England Patriots have drawn the Minnesota Vikings into it with accusations of tampering with footballs in a letter that they released to the NFL. And here's what they said.
Go for it, Adam.
The Patriots also supplied information to Mr. Wells about a prior reported incident of actual ball tampering which took place during a Vikings-Panthers game in 2014. Now, the day they're referring to was a very cold day in Minnesota. What happened was the balls were being warmed at halftime and before the game on the sidelines, but the actual game balls were not heated during the game, and neither team, the Vikings or the Patriots, broke the rules. They were just warned. Now, this was confirmed on Pro Football Talk when Mike Florio, he seems to have a soft spot in his heart for the Minnesota Vikings, which is cool. Mm-hmm. But he said it happened in Minnesota with the Panthers and the Vikings both warned at halftime about not using the sideline heaters to warm footballs on a 12-degree day. All other teams received a reminder the next day. Reports at the time from NFL.com and ESPN strongly suggested that both teams were warned because they were doing it. The truth, per a league source with knowledge of the situation, is that the Vikings weren't. The confusion apparently came from accounts that it was happening on the Vikings sidelines and from the fact that both teams were warned about it. So what happened here was that the Patriots got in trouble for the underinflated footballs, and what they did is they pointed the finger at the Vikings and said, oh yeah, well they heated footballs on their sidelines.
We didn't.
It's like kids on the playground getting in trouble. It's exactly what it is. And it's really frustrating to see an organization with Super Bowl rings, one of the best head coaches really ever in the NFL, a quarterback that's going to be a Hall of Famer, to be acting so childish. I understand that if you're going to go forth and you want to present your case in front of the NFL and everything, that's fine. But when you release letters with stuff like this in it, it's just bull-poopy.
It's tacky.
It is. It's tacky and classless. It really is.
I don't understand it. They usually tell us to build people up after you tear them down and end on a good note, but I'm going to do the exact opposite. My opinion on this stupid Deflategate that I'm absolutely sick of hearing, just like I'm sick of hearing about Adrian Peterson, is coming from law enforcement for almost 8 years. There's not enough evidence there. Probably doesn't hold up in a court, and I think it's crap. I think it's crap that you can hit your wife in the face and the first punishment you get is 2 games. But supposedly, maybe we have some sort of kind of evidence that they might have altered the football just barely under what our regulation is, that Tom Brady gets 4 games. I think if it was Andy Dalton and the Cincinnati Bengals or Blake Bortles, sounds the same, and the Jacksonville Jaguars, nobody would give a damn about it. And you know what? I hate that. And I totally wish that we'd stop talking about it, and I think it's crap that they got 4 games. But like you said, Adam, how friggin' dare you have your – I have to censor myself. We promise to keep it PG. How dare you have your finger stuck in your zipper, and then you're going to try to turn around and point the finger at Minnesota? First of all, we have nothing to lean on. We have a 7-9 season, respectfully. You just won the Super Bowl. You have an easy first ballot Hall of Fame quarterback, as Adam mentioned. And the best you can do is point to Minnesota? What is that going to do for you? And it's, I can see, they don't have a dome over in Foxborough, blah, blah, blah. But heating up a ball and altering something that is obviously a rule that you obviously probably broke. See what I did there? It's like you said, it's minuscule. It's something that kids do.
But
you want to get somebody else and bring them down with you.
The Vikings, right? They're getting their finger pointed at them by the Patriots. And the Patriots don't know for sure that this was happening. They're going off league speculation. Now, the Patriots want the NFL to be sure that they're punishing the right people. So why are they shooting blind allegations at teams just based on hearsay and speculation?
Yeah, I think, honestly, it's just one of those things where you have a negative light on you and it doesn't look good. You don't have a lot of ammo, so you're just willing to take anybody down with you.
Yeah,
take the fire off of them. Take that bad attention off of them. And it's really, really childish. And I don't mind the Patriots. I don't. I'm probably one of 3 people who doesn't really mind the Patriots. I love watching greatness. I'm glad to say I grew up watching probably the best quarterback ever. But it's such a little elementary school thing to do. Well, they did it too, but get over it. You guys just won the Super Bowl. You should be going around and not giving a crap.
Right. Mr. West has been pretty quiet during this.
Oh no, you guys have been having a great discussion. I really don't have a whole bunch more to add to it because I'm tired of hearing about the whole deflate football thing. I guess.
But how do you feel about in terms of the Vikings, though?
Well, I guess kind of the point that I would want to make about it is that it's funny that, in a sense, the Patriots are trying to pick on a team that is not even an outdoor team. We've played in a dome, and then we kind of got stuck in a college stadium for 2 years. So, I mean, why wouldn't they maybe try to dig up on something on one of the other outdoor teams that would be far more likely to try something like that over the course of their season than what I would think the Vikings would. And another thing too that I thought was funny is that if you were to look at a game that the Vikings would have wanted to cheat a little bit and get away with, something like that, why not that weird Tuesday game that we played on the frozen field against the Philadelphia Eagles, where we ended Brett Favre's career and we had Joe Webb in at quarterback?
Oh, God.
You can't tell me that in that game there wasn't some footballs on both sides of the field put in front of the heaters, because that was a field that no football game should have even been played on to begin with.
Oh my God. I just had an epiphany.
What?
You know when Favre went down, he was at TCF Stadium because the dome had just collapsed. Yep. That is so funny.
The unheated TCF Stadium in the middle of winter.
Oh.
Yep, no coils in there then.
Yeah, no nothing. Just frozen field. Like, that game should have never took place on that surface, ever.
But let's go into our social media question, because we got some people that actually responded to the question and gave us some really cool answers. What we did was we asked everybody if you could release any one player from the Vikings and not have to pay any other salary or guaranteed money, who would it be and why? We got some really, really interesting answers.
Izzy broke my heart.
Izzy Vaquera says Chad Greenway. I love him, but it's time for him to go. And this is likely Chad Greenway's last season. He's already come out and said that he wanted to play 10 years in the NFL and hang up his cleats. And I think that we're at that point now. So hopefully he'll be ready, and that whoever's taking over for him will be adjusted to the situation by then. Let's see, who else we got here. Rick Jacobson says Josh Robinson. So tired of watching him get burnt. But that's because he was thrust into roles that he shouldn't have been in.
Also, Rick is the man. Just gotta point that out. You the man, Rick.
Good old Rick.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, who else we got here?
I gotta read
Joe Adams.
I was gonna say, I gotta read Joe Adams' answer.
Okay, you can have Joe Adams.
He says, Khalil, F that guy. Seriously, everyone knows he is using the knee as an excuse so he can suck again next year and allow 10-plus sacks in a 2-game span. I like your attitude, but I don't...
Barb Baker agrees. After watching him play this last year, I have real doubts about him.
We shall see with Matt Khalil.
But we do have two people saying Brian Robinson, which is kind of interesting.
So close to putting him in my statement this week.
Will Sikora says, might not be a popular one, but I'm going to say B-Rob. I know he got hurt today, which I mentioned her during the quick hits, but that's not why. I think our young guys are going to be hungry and ferocious, out with the old and with the new, by salary too. And John Dostal agreed, said, yeah, I would have to agree. Just based off our depth at defensive end, B-Rob would be the easiest to move on without. Now, I'm going to throw a name out there that we've been saying on the show for a little while. And I know it's not going to relieve a big amount of salary. It's not going to make a huge impact on the team. But I really do feel it's time for Marcus Sherrill to go.
Yeah.
My heart breaks to hear that too, but it makes a lot of sense.
The writing's on the wall. Who would you guys pick?
Mr. West.
Well, I was going to say Marcus Sherrill's as well, too, because I totally agree that the writing is on the wall for him to head out, to be replaced by a couple other players who can fill his role better than what he's able
I'm mildly
to do.
surprised that no one said Jarius Wright.
I love Jarius Wright, and I want to see him stick around long term. I am going to tick off Adam with this one, but Sean Hill is worthless. We don't need Sean Hill. He brings absolutely nothing to the team. He's like 80 years old. Sean Hill, I mean, come on.
I would totally rather have them than Christian Ponder, though.
Who cares about either? Who cares?
Who do you want as your who would you want as your veteran backup?
Teddy don't need a veteran backup. That's a load.
Teddy is a veteran backup.
Teddy is a veteran backup.
You know what? I'm like, just blow the whole Twittersphere and Facebook world up. Let's just go out and pick up Michael Vick and call it a day. That'll be fun.
That'd be even worse.
Show's over. See you guys.
Thanks for listening. You give me Teddy Bridgewater and like Mike Kafka, and we're fine.
No.
We're fine.
No.
If Teddy goes down, the season's over with. So it doesn't matter what jackass you have that comes in.
I mean, I can understand wanting to go a little younger, maybe like with a Brian Hoyer or something like that.
Serious dilemma over there in Philadelphia. You could take out Mark Sanchez or Matt Barkley. I agree up to a certain many percent of Kyle's thing.
And then Joe Webb has to come in your game and you're screwed.
I don't know. Joe Webb won us that game in Philly.
Yeah, and then he had that playoff game.
I don't talk about that playoff game though. You don't need to go with
playoffs.
Playoffs.
I hear that Mr. Smith has an interesting statement here, though.
I'm gonna make so many people mad with this. Like you guys said with Jarius Wright, we'll go back to. We're just gonna go back in time in the show and jump through all kinds of time holes here. If Cordero doesn't seriously get his stuff together, he could be looking at sitting at number 3 or 4 on the. Right now he's sitting at 3. I think Charles Johnson's just ready to break out. Mike Wallace is going to be the number 1. If Jarius Wright keeps improving, Cordero could be pushed down to wide receiver number 4. So keep that in your mind. I think that's motivation for him. I think he knows that because Charles Johnson just stepped in last year and just said, "Hey, what's up? I got talent. I'm over here if you need me." But my bold statement of the week: if I can release one player, no financial binds, anything like that, dum. You guys aren't going to like it out there. I'd get rid of Kyle Rudolph.
Ouch.
And I hate saying that because when Ponder was there, that was his security blanket. He had a ton of touchdowns a couple of years ago. But I don't feel like, in my opinion, for the money that we were paying him, that he has shown to give us the stats he needs because he hasn't been healthy enough. And I want him to be better. But
just stay healthy.
Based on money, yeah, you got to stay healthy to do that.
You got to be on the field to produce for that big contract. And I do agree with what Adam.
I think it was a little early. I think the money was a little early there.
I think that we're kind of like the couple. You know, you're the girl and you're dating the bad boy, and you want him to change. You want him to be better. You think you can make him this guy that you want to just bring home and turn into a loving husband, but he's not. He's a bad guy. And I don't want to say that Kyle Rudolph is that bad guy that can't stay healthy, that struggles, that just basically can't stay on the field. But I want Kyle Rudolph to prove that he can do it on the field, stay healthy, catch touchdowns, because you see the ability, you see the talent, you see the potential. But realizing it is a totally different thing.
I don't think his size or athleticism or ability is anything. I think he's a perfect mold of what a tight end is. I wish he would be on the field more to give him more chances. And when he's limited, I'm sorry, when he's limited, as easy as this is to see and say about any player, but the less time you're on the field, the less productive you're going to be. And last year, I mean, I saw a lot more of Rhett Ellison and Chase Ford than I thought I was going to see.
Chase played well.
Which wasn't bad, but after giving him that, I think the money was a year too early. I don't know. Sorry, guys. You can totally just throw me out to dry and light me on fire on social media, but I'd give Kyle Rudolph the boot and give a new guy in there. Maybe Michael Pruitt.
Now you guys know why I wanted Minnesota to draft Max Williams.
There you go. I was waiting on you to say that.
I thought that would have been perfect. It's like, hey, you would have had Max Williams. If it doesn't work out for Rudolph, you get out of that. You guys have been so negative about him, though. I got to say that I do believe this is the year that Kyle Rudolph stays healthy. He's productive. He gets good rapport with Teddy, and we don't ever have to have this discussion again.
Because let's be honest, Teddy and Chase Ford, they got a connection going on.
They do.
And I'd love to see that connection going on with a guy like Rudolph, who, let's face it, he's more athletic, he's taller, he's got more skills than Chase Ford does.
It's just this one little thing helps one other thing helps one other thing. If Adrian's there, that's a whole beast you got to worry about. If Mike Wallace still burns people like he claims he's still the fastest guy ever, he's going to be a problem. Then Charles Johnson emerges. Then Cordero Patterson figures it out. And then there's a healthy Kyle Rudolph. I mean, you see all the stuff that could snowball into something positive. And if all that could happen, God help this second hardest schedule in the NFL we have, because we can make a dent.
Yeah, like you said, I don't want to be dogging on Kyle Rudolph. It's just I have an expectation of a player that gets the kind of contract that he had. When people were hating on John Carlson because of the contract he had, and now that I think that whole thing is going to follow over to Kyle Rudolph because this is a similar situation here. Rudolph hasn't earned that kind of a deal. They gave him that deal based on future potentials, and so far it's not looking good. But Rudolph can turn that around by staying healthy this year, having a good solid year, and maybe by this time next year we can be talking about Kyle Rudolph returning to the Pro Bowl, being the Pro Bowl MVP, all that kind of stuff again. But it's been a while, man. It's been a while.
Been too long. We want to hear something good. I'm gonna tell you guys straight up though. It's funny. The episode name was about Brian Robinson. It's funny you guys picked Marcus Sherrills because I was a half a millimeter away from picking one of those two. And I love me some B-Rob. There's nothing better than his touchdown. Good Lord, correct me. His sack dance. But man, I'm anxious to see. And here's a name you haven't heard. Speaking of B-Rob, I'm anxious to see what a second year under Mike Zimmer does for Scott Crichton. That'd be great.
I actually really liked Scott Crichton when I was evaluating him. He's a guy that I saw a lot of potential in. And, man, these young pass rushers that have so much potential that just need some development.
Depth.
It's so good to see this talent. And I understand that a lot of it is unrealized talent at this point, unrefined talent. But I think we have the coaching staff to be able to develop these guys and make it work.
Well, Adam, to piggyback off that, I'm looking through the roster right now. And in years past, when you would go through the roster this time of year, there would always be, at least for me, 4 or 5 names that stick out of just players that I hate. And I don't want them on the team. Just Jamarcus Sanford. I never liked Jamarcus Sanford. Ever! Never liked him. He was always on the team. Just wanted him gone.
I never understood why he was there either.
I know. And I'm looking through the roster right now, and there's not really a Jamarcus Sanford that sticks out as, like, get him off.
There isn't?
Well, I mean, Josh Robinson. You could pick on Josh Robinson.
I figured you'd be pointing your finger at the punter by now.
Well, I don't like him, but that's whatever. He's punter. No one cares about punters. They hardly count.
Punters are players, too.
Yeah, they are. But like you said about Josh, I think the way the corner situation is working out, he's going to go into more of a natural position that fits his skill set. So his play will be better off because of that. And I don't want him off the team. Like, I want to see what he can do for the Vikings still. I really do.
Yeah, I know that we've already had our situation with Josh Robinson and his family at the podcast. And I have Josh Robinson on my Xbox, and we played Call of Duty. And I don't want to see him go, basically, I guess, because I think he's a good guy. And he's got the speed. He's got the athleticism. I just don't think that he can win matchups consistently against guys that are 6 inches taller than him.
He's 5'10". You can't ask him to cover those big, tall, wide receivers like what they were doing previously. So just get it figured out. Find a better role suited for him, which thankfully you've got some high draft picks and whatnot in there that you should be able to do that with Josh.
Absolutely. And let's be honest, the depth at cornerback, it's not great.
It's steadily improving, though.
But compared to years of last, it's a step up in multiple ways.
Underneath Leslie Frazier, we had some hardcore patchwork going on back at the secondary. So even having rookie year for our Mr. Trey Waynes coming in and,
our corners were so bad that people were excited about Chris Cook.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
There was another guy that you just wanted off the team really badly.
Yeah, Chris Cook got talked about on this show. You know we went south.
Yeah.
Man. Now I'm just sitting here all depressed. I want to eat like a big old cake or something.
I always go for cake. Never turn down cake. Send us cake at Adam Carlson's address. Just give out your address on the show here, Adam.
You know what? Whenever we get this legacy brick, if you guys can find it at the new stadium next year, I will send you a cupcake.
Yeah.
Can I take a picture of it and send it to us?
Stand next to it. Make sure we can legibly read it, and I will send you a cupcake. Promise.
There you go. That's what I like to hear. On that note, that's all I have for this week. Do you guys have anything else you want to talk about?
Nope. Be sure to check it out. I'm going to try to remember at the end of every show to plug the upcoming question this next week. If we can start figuring it out, which we kind of figured it out on the fly, which is usually awesome. Next week's social media question: what is your favorite Vikings jersey? From what era? Tell us why. Tell us the ones you hate the most and why. And we will try to feature you next week, so we'll give you a shout out.
Absolutely. We love the interaction that you guys have. As a matter of fact, we'd like to thank you guys because we grew by leaps and bounds in the last week. With you guys just commenting and sharing some of our articles and posts. And we really appreciate that, guys. We really do, because the bigger we can make this, hopefully we can start doing more things involving many more things. We'd love to do giveaways and things like that. We're not quite at that point yet. But if we could grow to that point, man, that'd be sweet.
Mm-hmm. I want to jump in again. I'm going to make it about me and then turn it around for everybody else. I personally waited 30 days, 31 actually, so I could make my Twitter name change. You can find Kyle Smith on Twitter at Purple Scolger.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
I like that for a Twitter name.
I'm not going to lie. I've seen that before and I ripped it off, but obviously nobody had the Twitter handle. So boom, there it is. Purple Scolger. You can find me there. I'm rebuilding my Twitter, but I want to personally give a shout out because we talked to a guy recently that maybe wanted us to give a little bit more shout outs to other programs. Not that we have anything against that. We're all about our show. That's why we have our show. But I do want to say, piggybacking off of what Adam said about having so many people getting reached, shout out to Minnesota Vikings memes, memes, whatever you say. They shared one of the Viking Age articles that Mr. Adam Carlson wrote, and over 50,000 people were reached on it. So I want to give them a shout out for sure for sharing one of our guy here on the podcast word, because I know we got a bunch of new likes just because somebody read it. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. Gene's a good guy over there. He does good work.
Well, I'm going to plug my stuff, since we're plugging things.
Yes,
before we wrap the show up here, Adam, I'm doing another podcast. That's right, you can get 2 podcasts out of me now.
That's right.
You can check me out over...
Cheater.
Yeah, I know, I felt bad.
You never get enough Kyle West.
I recorded one last night, and it kind of felt like I was cheating on you guys. Just a little bit. But you can find me over on thatnerdcast.com. I have a show that I will be doing, I don't know if it'll be once a week or just kind of as topics come up. The first episode, 001, was all about Mad Max Fury Road. Me and my friend Nick did a spoiler review for that one. It was a lot of fun, so check that out. And it's thatnerdcast.com. You can find me on Twitter at thatnerdcast. So look me up. It should be up right around the same time that the Purple People podcast goes up. Fair warning, though, Nerdcast is completely uncensored. So if that's
not safe for work.
Not safe for work. So if that's not your thing, just be warned. We get a little colorful from time to time over there, but
yeah, we try to keep it PG-13 here, but
I plan on having you guys on at some point. Something.
Oh, yes. I was just going to say that. You will definitely hear some Kyle Smith and Kyle West on there very, very soon.
I know.
Now, since you guys are giving out your Twitter handles, mine's at MNVikingZombie. It pretty much makes sense for me. Since, Zombie, because I write for the Undead Walking site, and MN Viking, because, the Viking Age and stuff, and Vikings fan, and...
I love this. This is the best plugging episode in the history of mankind.
I think we've done more plugging than we did talking about some of our quick hits.
Well, I get Adam on. Me and Adam, we've been talking about it for a long time, but I'm going to get you on. We're going to do a Nerdcast all about Walking Dead.
With Fear the Walking Dead coming up, that could be a lot of fun.
Yes, it will be.
I think that's it. That's all we have for this week.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to thank you guys for listening. Remember to head on over to @PurplePeoplePod on Twitter to hit up Mr. West for whatever you want. I'm sure that he'll be able to accommodate you. Facebook is me and Mr. Smith. We kind of tag team that thing. We work hard, so you don't have to. And thanks for listening. Remember to stay classy, Minnesota.